vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. Take courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. And to the issue of...
When she said that, I died laughing.
Right? It's so funny. It's so funny. She just, but by the way, folks, that's infanticide is illegal in all 50 states and every territory in the union. But moving on to the next person.
It was the Billy Madison, we are all dumber for having listened to.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on that, John? Trump's abortion stick there. What do you think?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts. One, you nailed it on the live stream. You immediately called out that it was the governor of Normal Virginia.
Yes,
West
in
Virginia.
Normal Virginia.
That was impressive. That was because I did not recognize that. And for anyone who's wondering, I literally just posted a video about this on TikTok and Instagram at Counterpoint Politics for anyone who's interested. But what he said, what they're talking about.
I got you. Here you go.
Okay, there you go.
Northam. They're talking about Northam. Is that
yeah. So it's funny. During the stream, when he said that, I said, because I said it was Normal Virginia, not West Virginia, which I shouldn't have said. Because I don't want to besmirch any of our grace. The first Virginia, but yeah. So. I pulled this up too because I want to talk about this. This has been something that's bugged me for a very long time. But John, you can go ahead if you want to.
Well, I was saying he was talking not about. First of all, post-birth abortion is a dumb term. It doesn't like abortion is defined as ending a pregnancy prematurely. If the pregnancy has ended by giving birth, an abortion definitionally cannot occur. So there's that. But what he was talking about there, what that governor was talking about, was palliative care for unviable births. When a child is born, and TJ's brought this up on the show before. Please, God, TJ, do not show the picture that you showed the other day. But like when a baby is born, sometimes they're not going to make it, guys. Yeah. It sucks. It's a fact of life. Mm-hmm. We don't have the technology to save all the babies that are born, and some of them are born with defects that make it so that they are not going to survive. And so what the governor was discussing was a bill which would have prohibited or would have forced doctors to give resuscitative care to babies, even if there was virtually no chance of their survival. And that is awful because it puts them in additional excruciating pain. The parents cannot hold their child at all. They just die on the machine. And it's sad. And that is what Donald Trump is describing as executing a baby. Like that, it's a complete unreality. And he deserves to get fact-checked for that because it's not even a situation where he's saying the wrong number or something. He's making up something that simply does not exist. And he does that many times, but this is one of the most insidious ones that actually I don't think a lot of people, like I think when people hear him say millions of criminal immigrants are flooding the country, I think the average person doesn't believe that. They realize that that's ridiculous. I would argue that there's a lot of median voters out there who just kind of believe that Democrats allow post-birth abortions because Republicans keep saying it. And it really needs to be fact-checked hard because it's completely false.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Bo?
Do you guys get tagged from people who are your trolls in other videos because they want to try to make a point? I'm assuming that's common, right?
Yeah, we had one join our live stream on Tuesday.
We did. Yeah, that's right. One of John's super fans, apparently.
I've done that too. We've done a live and had people come in and we talked about gun stuff and it actually turned out pretty well. But I had this guy kept tagging me on this girl. You might see it because it's recent. She did it in the last couple of days, where she apparently called Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland. Apparently, because what she says is like, I am calling Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland, and she just has her phone like this,
Mhm.
and then she hits a button, and then it cuts, and then you hear, this is Bethesda Care Clinic. How may I help you? And she's like, I want to have an abortion, but I'm 9 months pregnant. And then cut, and then it has this person over the phone talking about what they're going to do for her to be able to first, like, well, you deserve that right to end that pregnancy that you don't want. Like, it is clearly a friend that she called that is probably reading from a crisis pregnancy center script that talks about what, you know, the horrible things that the left does to be. And everyone believed it. Like, they're like, this is why Donald Trump is right. This is what's happening. Because again, you know, we saw it on TV. And like, we have to combat that, because they will do things so simple as like, all you have to do is call your friend and tell them to sound like they're from this clinic, and just everyone will believe it. Like, because I think you're right. I think they just believe that we don't care. We're like, you're the guys that sound like you don't care, because you don't care about what someone's going through in their life, that has to be the awful fucking decision they have to make after carrying a pregnancy for 9 months. And they're like, "Bro, you just want to end." I'm like, sure, that's what they want to do. That is a sick fucking individual that no one would want to take claim of. And if it has to be done, it's for awful, awful, awful reasons, and they want to make someone go through that awfulness by forcing the pain and the discomfort and the, like, because there's defects, there's abnormalities where they're going to suffer because either they have no brain development or no brain that actually formed, or no certain like lungs and other things. Like, they just want the pain and the suffering so that they can win for their cause, and it's horrifying that they turned it into that.
Yeah, and which is why I enjoy so much that Kamala Harris, or appreciate it so much that Kamala Harris said it's insulting. Like, it is insulting to say that, you know, these 9 month abortions or whatever, to the extent that they happen, it's literally less than 1% of abortions, because it only happens unplanned. It's always an emergency situation in which like we said, we talked about anencephaly, and Paul kind of mentioned it too, in which the fetus's skull does not develop. And like there's half of their head is gone. That baby will die. 100% fatality rate. And if they catch this late in the pregnancy, like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and go through this. And of course they can if they want. But you know, you can understand why a lot of people would not want to, you know, go through carrying this fetus that you know will die. You absolutely know. And going to, you know, trying to keep it alive for a couple of weeks and go hundreds of thousands of dollars into that. No, I can see why they wouldn't want to resuscitate. With the Ralph Northam thing, I do think, though, that he didn't do himself any favors with the way he phrased this. And like, and honestly, it's hard to blame him, because the question he got asked was fucking ridiculous. But this is what they're talking about here. And it's so Northam was giving a hypothetical example of what could happen if a mother whose fetus had severe deformities or otherwise wasn't viable requested an abortion while in labor. His comments came in response to a question about whether he supported state legislation that would have loosened restrictions on abortions later in pregnancy. Experts told the AP that abortions in the third trimester are extremely rare. Social media users are misrepresenting years-old comments Northam made about an abortion in Virginia. And they asked him, if a mother is in labor, no, wait, hold on. If a mother is in, wait a minute, where's the question?
I have this clip popped up right now.
Oh, you do? Okay, here we go.
Because again, I literally made a video about this moments before coming on this show.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is from an account called Being Libertarian, by the way.
Oh boy.
And it's one of the ways that you can just know if a libertarian is being honest about their ideology or just a hack, because all libertarians should be pro-choice. Like, it's kind of definitional in libertarianism. But here's the response.
Positions and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, you know, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
So
Yeah.
that is the answer that he gave. Which honestly, it like when you read it, it sounds bad. When you hear him say it, it sounds much better.
He
It
sounds
does,
like
you're
a
right.
physician, is what he
Yeah.
sounds like.
Mhm.
When you hear him say it, it sounds 1,000 times better than when it's read. Because, and also, it also helps to know that the question was fucking absurd. The question is, what if someone decides to have an abortion while they're in labor? Like, someone please tell me a scenario in which that's ever happened. Because, like we mentioned before, because what right wingers seem to think is that people are having these healthy fetuses at 10 months, and they're going to say, all right, I want to abort it. If that were to ever happen, let's say someone actually came in and said, I want an abortion, and they were 10 months pregnant, the doctor would just induce the labor. That's what would happen. It would be a hell of a lot easier than anything else. The baby's got to come out one way or the other, and that's what would happen. And so he's, like I said, John was talking about, he's only mentioning about palliative care for severe, fatal fetal abnormalities in which the fetus is going to die. It's just a matter of, does it have a DNR? Like, are you going to keep resuscitating this fetus or this baby that will die in a matter of minutes or days? And yeah, and you're right. Like, hearing it does sound a lot better than reading it, because of course he's not going to go back and say everything that they talked about beforehand. But the fact that the Republicans have tried using this over and over and over again, and John and I talked about this during the debate, that the Democrats don't go out of their way to actually explain this, because it does. Weird. It's weird. Like,
I think they're afraid of it. I think they're afraid of getting clipped and coming across wrong, because it's a delicate plane to land, but like they can do it.
You can. Yeah.
This is
what
the
you're
same
there
thing
for.
we're saying, TJ, about the tariffs. Like that was so. Like Paul, you're like, she played an almost perfect game, and I agree. But I thought she had a giant missed opportunity to not explain what tariffs were to the American people.
Agreed.
Because
China, she missed the China thing, which is, I think Ezra Klein talked about this, that she should have said, well, I'm a big enough person to admit that Donald Trump did some things that were right, like the tariffs on China, because we have to be competitive with China in the marketplace so that we continue to build our technology.
I disagree with you there on that one, Paul.
Well, I mean, she could say something. I mean, the fact is we did keep them. She can't ignore the fact that we did, and rather than ignore it and seem like this, they can pick on that and be like, she lied, she ignored it, would be like, we beat it. It doesn't necessarily help, because he wants to do the 10 to 20% tariff on everything, which is basically trade war with the world. That's not a good thing, because you think about the large corporations in here that are multinational. They're just going to be like, oh, well, then you guys are going to pay for this. And that's what's going to happen. And like she said, she pinpointed actual study like the Cato Institute and the Wharton School, which was brilliant. Brilliant. I love that she brought up Wharton just to stab him again a little bit.
That was funny.
About it, and he's like, well, I have some professors that blah, blah, blah.
I know.
You know a guy?
Pathetic. I do like the idea, Paul, of trade World War I. That sounds very funny. Just like kind of get the ball rolling on that. Why not? That's pretty good. But